Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show we take you for all the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week we've had 2 reported incidents of illegal immigrant truck drivers causing deadly crashes in the United States. A controversial billboard has gone up in the state of Florida, but some people will very much be in favour of it. And some drivers are being arrested for flashing their headlights And some drivers are being arrested by the police for flashing their headlights. Find out why and a whole lot more in today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamps in the video description to watch the story that you're most interested in. So, without further delay, let's dive in. Oh boy, here we go again. It's happened again. It has happened again. Now, obviously, I brought you a story earlier this year around Harjinder Singh and the horrific crash that happened in the state of Florida. The fact that he was in the United States illegally, but still managed to get a driver's license, or a trucking license, I should say, in the state of California. The fact that he was stopped a couple of times too. It was an absolute mess, and I feel so much for the victims in that deadly, horrific crash, but it has happened again. A semi-truck driver was arrested after a deadly freeway crash, and it turns out that he was in the United States illegally, according to the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS. Let's go through this, guys. It's not going to be cheery, is it? But it's important we bring you this news, of course. A semi-truck driver who was arrested for driving under the influence following a deadly crash on the 10 freeway in Ontario on Tuesday is in the United States illegally, according to officials with the DHS. They told CBS News that the 21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh, yes, his last name is Singh as well, is an Indian national who entered the country by crossing the US-Mexico border in 2022. He is a resident of Yuba City in California, which is located in Sutter County, around 120 miles northeast of San Francisco. Singh was arrested on Tuesday by California Highway Patrol officers in connection with an 8-vehicle collision that included 4 commercial vehicles. The crash left 3 people dead and 4 others hospitalized in various conditions. I hope everybody in hospital currently makes a full recovery. All the victims were adults, according to the Ontario Fire Department. Just so you guys know, this is Ontario in the US. This is not the Canadian province of Ontario. I know some people might get confused by that, but this is definitely in the US. I have checked. San Bernardino County Jail records show that Singh remains detained on Wednesday night at the West Valley Detention Center in San Bernardino without bail. He has been charged with driving under the influence of drugs, causing bodily injury, and gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. He is expected in court on Thursday, today as I record this, at the Rancho Superior Court in Rancho Cucamonga. CBS Sacramento reporters spoke with Singh's best friend, Gurjot Malhar, on Wednesday evening. He told them that Singh came to the US in search of a better life. I'm sure he's going to get one in prison. He said, quote, "He's an amazing guy." You might regret saying that. "He would talk normally, happily, always with love and care. Coming from India, it's going to be hard to make dollars here, so he wanted to keep going." End quote. He was there illegally, though, and he's killed people. It's unclear if Singh currently has legal representation. CHP officers told CBS Los Angeles that they are investigating if Singh was driving with a valid commercial driver's license at the time of the crash. And it might sound absolutely ridiculous, but it is true. Illegal immigrants can get these licenses legally, in a sense. I mean, it's legal, but it shouldn't be legal. They shouldn't be in the country, but, they are able to get these licenses, and that's exactly what happened with the other Singh in Florida a few months back. In August, the US government stopped issuing worker visas for commercial truck drivers. At the time, a State Department spokesperson said that the pause was put in place in order to conduct a comprehensive and thorough review of screening and vetting protocols used to determine the qualifications for a US visa. As we have seen with recent deadly accidents, foreign truckers can pose a risk to American lives, US national security, and foreign policy interests. The State Department spokesman, ensuring that every driver on our roads meets the highest standards is important to protecting the livelihoods of American truckers and maintaining a secure, resilient supply chain. End quote. California and Washington were sued by Florida last week for a crash that happened in August and left 3 people dead after the driver of a semi-truck attempted to perform an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike in St. Lucie County. That's the one I was referring to before. I've already had my say on that many times, so go check out the previous videos if you haven't already. The lawsuit alleges that both states have failed to comply with federal safety and immigration status requirements requirements when issuing commercial truck driver's licenses. The suit says that California and Washington, quote, chose to ignore these standards and authorize illegal immigrants without proper training or the ability to read road signs to drive commercial motor vehicles. End quote. Yes, that is true, because the guy couldn't speak English. He was stopped for speeding, I believe, was it in New Mexico? And possibly Washington as well. And he couldn't speak English, so they just let him go. So, they could have easily stopped that before it happened. And I would be shocked if there's not a similar story here, with this guy. I don't want to make presumptions about him, but it's worse. I mean, there's more people that have died. And I imagine it's going to go a similar way. So any kind of updates with this, guys, I will bring you. But yeah, I've had my say on the trucking industry when it comes to these licenses, because some states are very strict, some states are very lax, and California is definitely one of the lax states. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy, despite being a legal immigrant, managed to get a driver's license, or a trucker's license, I should say, with no problems from California. It will all come out in the wash, absolutely. But yeah, I'll bring you as it comes, guys. Yeah, hopefully a little less news like this, but it's important we bring it at the end of the day. We need to shine a spotlight on these sort of things, because the people who are involved in stuff like this have to be held accountable. 100%. 100%. First impressions are very important. You can't redo them and you can't change them once they've happened. People will use them to form an opinion of you when you first meet them. And that also goes for towns, cities, or in this case, an actual state, the Sunshine State of Florida, because someone has erected a billboard along a major road in the United States, basically saying, "Welcome to the free kill state of Florida." But why have they gone and done this? What are they referring to, and are they in the right for actually doing this? Let's have a look, guys, because this is quite an emotional one, particularly for the parents out there. But is this guy in his right mind doing this? Let's have a look. A new billboard along Interstate 95, just south of the Florida-Georgia border, delivers a stark message to motorists who think they're entering a state where things are always sunny. Not quite, though, because it says, quote, "Welcome to the free kill state of Florida," end quote. And I will put a picture of this up on the screen for you guys. Now, it will have been in the title card, and it will also be in the thumbnail for this video as well, just so you're absolutely clear on what is happening here. These words are printed next to a picture of the state's governor, Ron DeSantis, and definitely delivers a strong message for people going south from Georgia. But the shock of seeing this is probably nothing compared to what the person that put this billboard up suffered not too long ago, because it was a grieving father who paid for this billboard to be put up. Daryl Perrett is his name, and his 33-year-old son recently passed away. There is a saying, of course, that parents should never have to bury their children, but unfortunately, tragically, Daryl had to do that earlier this year. His son died in the hospital. But despite this, Perrett said that he couldn't find out what actually killed him because of a bizarre law in the state of Florida, which is totally unique in the United States, which basically protects negligent healthcare providers. The law essentially says that even if a provider of healthcare negligently kills an adult patient, family members cannot sue for pain, suffering, or answers, unless the dead patient in question has a spouse or minor children. So if you have a 25-year-old daughter, for example, who has yet to marry or have children, you have no right to find out what killed them if you're in Florida. Therefore, you cannot sue for negligence, which is absolutely horrible. How mad would you be if this happened to you? And this will have happened to a lot of people. Now, according to Perry, his son Cameron had a history of blood clots and was admitted to the hospital last fall while coughing up black blood, but despite that, didn't go for surgery until 3 days later when the hospital staff told him they probably couldn't save him. Now, obviously, people pay a lot of money for healthcare in the United States, and to leave someone for 3 days without any kind of surgery when they are coughing up black blood, I'm sorry, I'm no healthcare professional, but that very much does seem like a red flag and something that immediately needs to be addressed. And like I said, this law did apply to his son. His son had no children, he never married, so he has no answers. He has no idea what that coughing of blood was caused by. If it was a blood clot, if it was something else, or even if that contributed to his death, it could have been something else entirely. And given the fact that this could be something genetic as well, it can affect other members of the family, so it could compromise them as well. So I can imagine he's extremely worried from that regard as well. Now, for a change, this is something that is actually supported on both sides of the aisle over in Florida. representatives from both sides of the Democrats and the Republicans agree that this law needs to be repealed. It needs to change. And in fact, they voted to do as much last year. But, and this is the reason why Ron DeSantis is on the billboard, he vetoed the measure. Why? Probably because he's getting a bit of help from those healthcare providers. I'm just saying that could be a possibility. And it's what a lot of people are theorizing there. Because this is something that only helps the healthcare providers themselves. This does not help any of the people that these representatives actually represent, and the ones that Ron DeSantis says that he represents. Very controversial figure. I've seen a few people call him Ron DeSatan as well, which, you know, when you hear stuff like this, you can kind of understand why. So there you go, a truly bizarre Floridian law that was voted to be repealed, but the governor of Florida vetoed it. And because of that, there are cases like this, and there will be more cases, and there's probably some more cases that we don't know about. So was the father right to erect this billboard? I mean, free speech. You know, if he wants to say that, I'm all for it. As a father myself, I totally understand his anger and frustration at this. You know, it's not the fact that he's lost out on money for the lawsuit. He's said many times that he's not looking for money. He just wants to know why his son died. It is not a request that is something that should be so difficult to honor, you know? So for me, go for it. You know, he's paid for that billboard, he's paid his money, and Ron DeSantis is clearly the man that has stopped him finding out what killed his son. So I'm absolutely fine with that. I got no problem with that personally. But get your thoughts in the comments below. This is quite infuriating, really, to be honest with you, this story. This really is. Now, I brought you a story literally yesterday going over the fact that there was a tragic accident involving a semi-truck in the state of California where an illegal immigrant was piloting said truck. He's been arrested. He's pending a trial for that. 3 or 4 people died in that, I do believe. So horrible stuff there. But it's happened again. There's another one. This time in Indiana. And this, in some ways, is worse than that one. It's worse than either of the Indian truck drivers, the Singhs, both from last name Singh. But this one's even worse in a sense, and I'll explain why. Full story for you here, guys, as always. The illegal immigrant in Indiana who was arrested after allegedly causing a fatal semi-truck crash owned a company that took out over $35,000 in Paycheck Protection Program loans, according to official records. Borko Stankovic, what a name, was driving on US Highway 20 in Indiana on Wednesday of this week when traffic came to a stop due to a Ram Sprinter turning near Douglas Drive, but the suspect didn't appear to slow down in his semi-truck, according to the Portage Police Department. Stankovic attempted to make a hard evasive left turn, but instead entered the opposite side of traffic and hit the Subaru Crosstrek that was trying to turn anyway, according to officials. The semi-truck jackknifed as a result and hit the Ram Sprinter, which was pushed into a road sign. Jeffrey Eberly, 54 years of age, who was driving the Subaru, died at the scene of the accident. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin told Fox News Digital that Stankovic had been in the US illegally since February 2011, 14 years ago. That was when his non-immigrant visa status expired. Officials said Stankovic possessed a suspended Illinois CDL, which is a license you need to drive a truck legally in the United States. And we've talked about them a lot, how people are getting them illegally or getting them in ways that are less than above board. But this guy didn't even have one. Well, not one that was his anyway. He did have one for a family member on him, but obviously that's not him. That's the wrong Stankovic. Triple P records catalogued by ProPublica show that 2 of Stankovic's companies, Eclipse Trucking Incorporated and ESD Team Incorporated, received a combined $36,082 in loans from the COVID-era funding program. Business registration records from both Illinois and Indiana show Stankovic owned both companies. The Triple P loans were forgiven according to the data. Records show that both companies listed having 1 employee. Guess who it was? In November 2018, Stankovic was arrested in Long Island, New York, for resisting arrest and obstructing governmental administration, according to McLaughlin. Don't worry, we'll go back to that. McLaughlin said the following in an official statement, quote, U.S. ICE forces in Chicago lodged an immigration detainer with the Porter County Jail against the criminal illegal alien Borko Stankovic following his arrest on October 15th for reckless homicide and criminal recklessness. Stankovic, who's a 41-year-old illegal alien from Serbia and Montenegro, that was so long ago that the country doesn't even exist anymore. It's now Serbia and Montenegro, two different countries, was driving a semi-truck and caused a multiple vehicle accident in Portage, Indiana that tragically claimed the life of Jeffrey Eberly. This criminal illegal alien didn't even have a valid CDL. The Department of Homeland Security is working with our state and local partners to get illegal alien truck drivers who often don't know basic traffic laws off our highways. End quote. And a lot of times don't even speak English either. I mean, so many questions to ask around this one. How was he in the United States for 14 years after his visa expired? How was he running two companies in the US despite being an illegal immigrant? How was he not pulled up on his CDL before? I mean, we know about the CDL stuff. We know how paper thin that is, but so many questions. I mean, this guy was even arrested in 2018. It's just like the Singhs. Well, the first Singh anyway, Harjinder Singh. You know, he was arrested for speeding. Or he was pulled up for speeding, I should say, in New Mexico before he went to Florida and then carried out that illegal U-turn. How was he not detained and sent back to Serbia? So many questions. And it'll all come out in the wash. And I'll bring you any updates as it comes, guys. But, yeah, just infuriating. It really, really is. How these agencies can be so inept. It really is, but thoughts in the comments below, guys. I'm sure you got plenty of them. So I was on the internet yesterday, scrolling through Facebook. A lot of people call it doom scrolling, but I call it information gathering for my job. I do have a little look online sometimes, see what's trending, and this was trending. And this article very much does sum up the absolute mess the United Kingdom is in right now. And to be honest, in a sense, it doesn't really surprise me, because a set of temporary traffic lights have now been up in Derby for 2 years. You cannot call them temporary if they're there for 2 years. That's an insane amount of time. And the amount of money this has cost the taxpayer in council tax that is just being absolutely wasted on this is absolutely ridiculous, you know. All of our council taxes are going up, and are we getting a better service for it? No, absolutely not. It's just getting worse, particularly for these people over in Derbyshire. So let me have a look at this, guys. Why has this taken over 2 years to solve? Because the people there jokingly have put up a few different party balloons and stuff like that, celebrating the second birthday of these temporary traffic lights, which I think is absolutely amazing. I love British humour, but I imagine the council will probably not take a very good view of that. But at the end of the day, do your bloody jobs, then maybe people won't take the mick. Just saying. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Shout out to the BBC News for covering this story. A council is working to find a resolution over a road in Derby that has been shut for 2 years after a wall collapse. Yeah, they've been trying to find that resolution for 2 years. How's that going? Uttoxeter Road in Mickleover has been partially closed since the collapse during Storm Babbitt in October 2023, 2 years ago, causing significant flooding. Earlier this year, a Freedom of Information request revealed it had cost Derby City Council more than £10,000 to lease temporary traffic lights which were installed near the wall. £10,000 can do a lot of good, but instead it's just hiring a bloody set of traffic lights. What is going on? The authorities said the wall was owned by a third party, meaning its powers to intervene are restricted. Residents, who have long been calling for the situation to be resolved, you know, because they live there, have described the situation as an absolute joke and pathetic. It's being rather polite, to be honest. I'd call it something else personally. Mickleover councillors Matthew Holmes, Alanson Holmes and Miles Patterson issued an update on the situation, saying the wall was privately owned and there is a significant financial cost involved in repairing it. Like 10 grand on traffic lights. Yeah, clearly you guys are spending that money wisely. Saying, quote, "As many residents will be aware, we are now approaching 2 years since the wall collapsed on Uttoxeter Road. No They know. They put a bloody birthday. They put birthday balloons out. They were celebrating it. There are children that have been born that have never known that road to be clear. They have only ever known temporary traffic lights to be on there. In their statement, they went on by saying, quote, "Throughout this time, we have always tried to give factual updates of note." I don't think there's been many, to be honest, when we have received them. However, we found this issue to be one step forward, 2 steps back, which is why news has been scarce recently for the last 2 years. As we have said in the past, the situation regarding the walls is extremely complex, and there has been a huge amount of work going on in the background to try and find a resolution. Yeah, I mean, those shovels won't stand up by themselves. Them workmen on that road, they need to support them, don't they? We know this remains a frustrating issue for residents. As councillors, we have had meetings with and continue to speak with all parties involved. However, any final decisions sit well outside of our remit. End quote. Now, I do understand it, right? I do get the devil's advocate argument here with the council where they're saying, oh, this is private property and we can't intervene with it. But if that private property is intervening with a road, which is their property, this is the government, right? This is a public highway effectively, then surely they can do something about it if it is actually blocking that or causing them to have to put up these temporary traffic lights and these roadworks. Surely then the government can intervene because it's effectively on their land, if you understand what I'm saying. Obviously, the council can't go around just tearing people's walls down and stuff like that. They shouldn't be able to do that, of course not. But when it's interfering with public safety, in their own words, when it's interfering with a public highway, this road, surely they can do something more. Surely they shouldn't have taken 2 years to do. And it's still not sorted. It's still not sorted. These temporary traffic lights have entered their terrible twos. They've become toddlers. It's absolutely bonkers. But it's the UK. It's the UK. This is what we do. We are pathetic as a country. Or should I say, the people running our country are pathetic. Oh my God, 2 years. And the thing is, right, and we can rant about this all day, but, this just feeds into the argument that even though we're spending billions upon billions of pounds on the roads, it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. And this is another example of it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Are you a local resident of this in Derby? How bad is it? I can imagine this is an absolute nightmare at rush hour, the school run, times like that. But get your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, this has to hold the record for the longest set of temporary traffic lights in the world. There can't be another one, can they? I love watching police fail things, whether it's the actual police failing themselves or the perpetrator that fails. These embarrassing mistakes, slip-ups, stuff like that. It's just funny. I've said many times that my girlfriend absolutely loves watching body cam footage from police officers in the US, and yeah, it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh a lot of the time, I must be honest. There are some that are just downright hilarious, and the reactions of people when they come up against authority, when they come up against a threat, they give it large, they're giving it all that at the end of the day, and then as soon as they come up against a threat, the actual police officer being like, I'm going to arrest you now, they run, they scream, they cry, they literally, do things in their trousers pretty much, or their pants, I should say, you know what I mean? It ends pretty badly at that point for them a lot of the time. And road rage people definitely make me laugh as well. So we've got a perfect storm here to make me laugh at this story, because a driver has been arrested for laughing at a police officer after flashing his lights. Let's have a look at the full story for you here, guys. Now, not all heroes wear capes. In fact, some people give you an indication that a police officer is ahead by flashing their lights. It might actually be a mobile speed camera van or something like that in the UK, but that's the universal sign for basically, look, there's danger ahead, and that danger might well be a law enforcement officer, so slow down. I'm not saying that I do it. I'm not saying that anybody that I know does it. But I'm just saying I've seen it happen. I have heard about it here in the UK. I do believe it's technically illegal over here, believe it or not. Hey, what are you going to do? They're not going to throw you in jail for that now, are they? Or are they? Well, in the United States, it's a bit of a murky issue because some officers don't like that. Now, some might take this as being a good thing. After all, if it's getting people to slow down and comply with the law, then why is that such a bad thing? They're achieving their aim effectively at that point. It's a deterrent, and it has worked, albeit indirectly. But this headlight warning is something that some people do classify as free speech. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but it has been going to court now since at least 2012. In that example, in Missouri, A judge made it clear that flashing headlights to warn other drivers of anything was protected free speech under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. But that hasn't stopped other people having to go to court to defend themselves for doing so. And there was a case recently in West Virginia that showed up on the YouTube channel The Civil Rights Lawyer. Now this was recorded on both the police officer's body cam and also the police cruiser's dash cam as well, so we've got two different angles of it. But it's the police that might be in hot water over this incident. Let me explain why. Because a man was pulled over by a police officer for allegedly flashing his headlights to warn other drivers of a speed trap, and he ended up getting arrested for that. Now a conversation between the two of them preceded that. And it was relatively cordial, there was no kind of needle or nastiness really. But the officer then threatened to take the driver to jail over an unsigned registration card. The driver responded by laughing, but he wasn't laughing for very long because the police officer arrested him, and he gave him a ticket for his trouble too. So what is happening with this? Well, the trial is currently in its discovery phase, so it's not going to be resolved anytime soon. Interestingly though, the judge did deny the department's request to throw out the case and to give the officer qualified immunity. Nice one. Always thinking they're above the law, those police officers, aren't they? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot worse things you could do on the road. I mean, personally for me, I got no problem with that. I really don't. You know, if you're getting people to slow down, be more cautious, if that's kind of a wake-up call, for lack of a better term, it's definitely preferable to continuing to speed. It's definitely preferable than actually crashing into another car, a pedestrian, anything like that, you know. It's definitely better than that. I know it might technically be against the law, but come on, man, there's definitely worse things you could do while you're driving around. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one, guys. How do you think that case is going to go? Given past history of these kinds of cases, I think the defendant is going to be absolutely fine in this one. And I hope he's successful in his lawsuit as well against the police department, because that does seem like a bit of overreach, I must be honest. But your thoughts in the comments below on this one as always, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Have a fantastic day in the world today. And yeah, be careful out there. If you go flashing your headlights, police may not like that.